was born into the incubator of Marion, South Carolina. For those of you all who were born in the South, my father served in the Vietnam and the Korean War. My mom was a tailor. I was the youngest of 6 kids. That incubator in Marion, South Carolina taught me a whole lot. And what I learned in that incubator is what I'm going to share with you all. And I'm going to digress for just a minute. It is my first job out of graduate school when I graduated from NC State was a counselor at ShawUniversity. The counseling center at that time had not been functioning as well, and Ms. Carol Gartrell gave me a job. And I was brand new. I spent a lot of time in the union, but I knew students would not come to the counseling center. So my office was sitting around there when they fried the chicken, and I would talk to young brothers and sisters just about the journey. And so going into that incubator in Marion, South Carolina, there was a lot that I learned that I want to share specifically with you all, the students, some of y'all in the audience. And the first thing that I learned was this question about, my mother helped me to understand, when you look in the mirror, son, you need to be confident in what you see. But in order to be confident in what you see, you need to know what you see. And so when I came up, there were folks all around me in my neighborhood. I grew up on 800 Strawberry Street. So from the time I stepped down, some of y'all can connect to this. When you stepped out of your door, folks didn't ask you your name, they asked you who your people were. It took me a long time to understand what that meant, what they were asking. Because depending on what you said, if they said, I would say, I'm James Lester. Oh, I know Mr. Lester, I know Miss Lester. And so it got me to understand that there's a lot in a name. And so I want to share with you all some of those lessons, but that lesson got amplified when I came to graduate school at NC State. And I bumped into Dr. Gus Witherspoon and Dr. Lawrence Clark. And I remember they sat me down, and one of the questions they asked me was, what are you going to do with your degree as it relates to the condition of your people? I mean, I was thinking about getting a job. I wanted to drive nice. I wanted to live nice, right? They said, you don't have to answer that now because you're going to be here for a few years. We're going to help you to understand what that was. So I had an opportunity to spend some time in what we call the African American Symposium, which is probably now more relevant now than it was back then. And they would always walk into a room and they would ask these questions to young folks. That first question was, who are you? Where's black land? Where's colored land? Where's Negro land? And then they would follow up with, the next question was, why are you here? And of course, there were parents sitting behind them and they had the students to lean back and give them things. But that question of who are you is so important. I stand here at 61 years of age, and every day that I can put my feet on the ground, I'm thankful because God has something for me to be doing. And so that question about who am I, but then that, for some of y'all, it's that who's am I. I heard Wade Noble say one time, he said, if you reject who you are and who you're trying to become rejects you, you're going to be in a psychological twilight zone. Let me say that again. If you reject who you are, who you're trying to become rejects you, you're going to be in a psychological twilight zone. It made me go back to Marion. I'm looking in the mirror. So who am I? Whose am I? And then Gus and Doc would always come with that question about why are you here? He said, not just, I want you to think about what got you here. How did you get to the university? Did you earn your way here? The next question they would come with was, where have you been? All that years of history. You know, Carter G. Woodson used to always say, when you control the person's thinking, you don't have to worry about their actions. And I'm going to paraphrase. He said, you don't have to make them go to the back door. They would go to the back door without being told. And if there is no back door, they will cut one. Their education makes it necessary. Their education makes it necessary. So there's something about the education that you get that teaches you all about who you are. Yeah, I know we gotta learn the other stuff. But they said to me, regardless of what field you go into, you better know the black contribution to your field. Now some of y'all might say, Darryl, I don't wanna be just known as a black this or black that. But if you understand the times we're living in now, we are leaning hard into who we are. And the more we reflect on that, the better we'll be. And he said, who am I? Whose am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? This notion, young folks, around where you're going, you got to see yourself there. If Dr. Benjamin Mays was here right now, he would tell you, you got to better dream it. You got to better see it. Because if you can see it, what's the old phrase? You can be it, right? But it's that last question. So once we get through all these and we get out of school and we get our stuff, what contribution will we make? This notion of reciprocity, our ancestors understood that they were sowing for we could sit anywhere we wanted to sit. We could go anywhere we wanted to go. The question for me now is, at 61, is do we have that same level of reciprocity? Do we want to give the way they gave? Will we make that sacrifice? So the thing is, when we get through the journey, what is it that people are going to say about you when they look between those dashes? I don't know when my day is coming, but I do know that when I get up in the morning, my mom used to say, son, never put off stuff that you can do today for tomorrow, because you're not promised to be here. And so when you think about that contribution, young folks, don't let folks think that I gotta wait, you gotta be older. We tell young folks now, y'all the future. No, you're the right now. Because you may be harboring a gift, a talent that the world needs right now. And I think it's important that we lean into that now. So that contribution has to be, I worked in the world of philanthropy. And I tell you all folks, you're talking about a world where, and here's the narrative around philanthropy. The narrative is folks that look like you and I are recipients of somebody else's. We've been trying to flip that thing, but I watched in Marion, South Carolina, who the philanthropists were, who the real givers were. And I recognize how powerful that, if you buy into that narrative, they got us. Because a lot of us that work very hard every day, if somebody is going to define your giving, they got us. I used to sit in the rooms, I was at the foundation. I was the first black person that was ever at the community foundation that wasn't answering the phone. Sitting there, listening to people talk about who gives. And I remember doing some reading because I had to go back to what Lawrence Clark and Dr. Witherspoon told me, you better know the contribution to your field. So I said, what's the black folk story? So I started searching and I came across Mattel Dawson, the forklift operator, right? Who sold all these scholarships for young people. And I started finding all of these other givers and philanthropists. And it made me understand what happened in Marion, South Carolina, the incubator that taught me that. And so I want to, in the time I have left, I want to review my questions with you now. Who am I? I want y'all to say them with me. Whose am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? What contribution will I make? Young folks, because every day ain't promise, make sure you understand that this, what you captured in, is an asset. It is never a deficit. Hear me. This is an asset, not a deficit. What we're capturing in, folks, is something so powerful. Once you lean into this, remember, education is not something somebody puts in. They bring it out what's already in you. So I'll leave you this as I close. My parents didn't have a whole lot, but they were able to raise 7 kids, and we're all in our right mind. But I remember, most of y'all probably remember watching the show Rock. Remember the Rock was on, right? So my dad, I lost my dad in colon cancer in 2002. So my dad had a trach. So he couldn't, he's used to write. And so we'd sit and watch the show, and then there'd be this song in the background. And my dad leaned over, he said, "Do you know what that song is saying?" And the words are, "Them that's got shall get. Them that's not shall lose." The Bible says, and it still is news, the strong get more while the weak ones fade. If your pockets are bare, you'll never make the grade. Oh, money! You've got lots of friends crowding around your door. But when your money's gone, your friends won't come around you anymore. Rich relations will give you a crust of bread and such. Help yourself, but you better not take too much. Mama may have and Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own. And I am so thankful. But my dad told me, keep your eyes on your own table and not on somebody else's. God bless you all.